Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining another Ask the Kabbalist show. With me as always, Kabbalist Dr. Michael Leitman. So we're ready to answer your questions. We'll remind everyone you can send more questions at tv.kabbalah.info. You go there, you click the Ask the Kabbalist page, and there you can submit questions in any form, video, audio, or text. So our first question is a text question that is coming from Anne. She's from Los Angeles, and she's asking the following. Facebook now has more than 500 million users, which is more than the entire US population, and it means that 1 out of every 12 people in the world is using it. There are many opinions on how Facebook has redefined our approach to human interactions. I wanted to ask you whether you see this as something that brings us closer to our spiritual connection that Kabbalah is talking about. How do you see the role of Facebook within the plan of human development?
I think that everything we're developing, especially on the internet, this whole web network of connections, is in favor of humanity. It's a result of our desire to be more interconnected, and not physically interconnected, but more internally. Even though, to this day, we haven't yet learned the right way and we can't correctly use it, like anything else, we're egoists, and first we use things a bit adversely, until we turn it into something more acceptable, into something a bit better. But I'm really glad to hear about the success of the development of this kind of connection between people, and have great hopes for it. Because according to what we see in nature, that pushes us to be more interconnected, we discover that we're all interconnected and that we're all interdependent, and it's according to the laws which we see. So if we're going towards those laws, in accordance with those laws, then of course we'll benefit. Like with any other law in nature, if we know it and obey it, then we benefit. Thus, using these systems in order to connect between people, although at first it's like children that fight, but afterwards they learn how to better behave in a more acceptable way, protecting each other. I think that humanity will undergo these years of childhood pretty quickly, and we'll reach a state where we will use all of these social networks in a nice and good way, and through it we'll feel how we're all actually one person, one system.
What is, you mentioned the law of nature, and I'm wondering, this Facebook thing is a real phenomenon. It's unprecedented. 500 million users, and it's really something that is becoming a thing of modern life. Just like doing anything else. People are on Facebook. The question is, what is it in this virtual connection, virtual nature that we find that we like it so much? What is this?
Our nature, our will to enjoy, to receive, to be fulfilled, to feel something, to understand, to hear. You see, you have 1,000 channels on TV. You get on the net, there, everything. Yeah, infinite, exactly. And it all comes from our desire. And if that desire can be fulfilled, then good. If it can't, then it develops this net in the direction of receiving more and more until it starts scrutinizing these things, and things that don't really give an answer to our ego, to that developing desire, they come down. And also the ego starts seeing how it has to be connected with others, even though it's a long way, but gradually we'll learn. You see what's going on. People, countries that previously were in a clash, today they see we have no choice. What, we'll kill each other? It's better for us to be more connected, to talk, and so on. That's how life teaches us to connect with each other. And thus, Facebook, it's a very good phenomenon. And you see that everyone in the world wants to present himself, starting with the president and to the last person.
President Obama in the United States has 17 million friends on Facebook.
It answers a certain demand for an inner connection, and I think that through that we'll learn how to reach more inner connections, not physical ones. The thing is that our developing ego, it develops qualitatively, not only quantitatively. Previously, I needed 5 friends around me, 10 friends. We have our habit of fishing, going to the pub, playing cards, different things. Or we like dogs, or something else. A small number of people, that was enough for us. A club. Today, no more. I'm not satisfied by it. I want a connection not only through dogs and fish, not through my body, and not as a result of us coming closer physically, but more internally, where I can better express myself, where I can even lie, but by that I actually better express myself. A person who lies, he actually tells his inner truth. The lie, it only says how he wants to be something that he's not.
That is very true on Facebook, because what happens there really is that I'm showing only what I want to show. My best pictures.
But that tells specifically about my more inner world. Because I, in my nature, in my ego, I'm stingy and suspicious of everyone and afraid of everything and very limited, everything that each of us has. And I show myself, I show my ideal, meaning a more inner form that's pretty, that I respect. So there's a contradiction in terms here, where I know who and what I am, or even if I don't exactly know, but I show the other a nicer form of myself. Even worse sometimes. Sometimes people fight on the net and show themselves as great heroes, as if he's like this hero on a horse, like a Don Quixote or someone. I understand them. That too. It doesn't matter for the better or for the worse, but that lie, eventually it scrutinizes, in time, it scrutinizes the human part in a person. Through it he achieves the recognition of evil. Through it he comes to the question of, who am I then with respect to how I present myself there? And people start relating to him the way he presents himself. And he starts feeling that he's not exactly like that puppet that he portrayed. So it brings people to the recognition of evil, to demand to change yourself, to be closer to how they want to present themselves. Because if I'm not in physical contact with you and you can't see me, then I can tell you things.
So I'm creating the new me, basically.
Yes, true. Exactly, the inner me that doesn't have anything to do with the body, and that's more genuine. And thus, our development in the virtual direction will bring us to a spiritual change. And thus, I'm really glad to hear about the development and the increasing of all these things like the connections on Facebook and other social networks.
Okay, I would like to continue more on this actually. This is a very interesting point and very true that it's like a person, the virtual connection.
I also think that there are many researches about it. I didn't look into it, but I'm sure that there's sociologists and psychologists inside the network that are learning these phenomena because it's a worldwide phenomenon. It's social, a real human phenomenon.
Well, not towards spirituality, but yeah, I know an anthropological research about YouTube, which is similar about how when people film themselves in front of the camera, it's very similar to what you said. They're kind of projecting what they want to be, not who they really are. And like a person has these 2 points, who am I and who I want to be. And this is very interesting. But what I wanted to ask is, still as you mentioned, even though the infrastructure to connect everyone is existent already, which is the internet, we're still using it for egoistic reasons. How could we change that? How could we use the same system and to just...
Only through the recognition of evil. In the meantime, we're using the internet the way our ego pushes us to use it. And it pushes us to use it in very filthy ways, so to speak, because it depends how you look at it. Look what's going on there with sex and different things that have to do with obscene behavior, rape and lying, and yes. And on the other hand, how people there are living their pink dream and who knows what. The extent to which it opens before a young person the world of the grown-ups, and how in general it allows everyone to go everywhere and see everything. I think it's a very serious accelerator for the development of humanity. There's already a generation growing there. And if we'll see another generation, suppose in another 15 years, then I think that we'll see a humanity that's altogether different, completely different. A humanity that's living inside that. A humanity that have their iPods with them at all times, and that's how we're all interconnected through the network. And this is the only way we know each other. And then our evil and our good. This system, it has an inner force, and this is something that we don't feel yet. It has to awaken, it has to reveal. Where people are connected between them comes in the third component, the result, the coefficient. Suppose we're in a group. We're 10 people, and we're interconnected. So there's the power of the group that's included, that consists of 10 men, suppose, but it's not enough. In our united force, there is an additional component that comes as a result of the unification between us. A result.
Bigger than the details.
Yes, the so-called collective in the wisdom of Kabbalah. And if we're interconnected in a single network, even though this network is egoistic and it's a lie and whatnot, all of our unpleasant forms of nature exist there. Doesn't matter. It's nonetheless a network that connects us. And then the power that's connecting us has to reveal there. And then it will reveal to us an additional deficiency. Inside the network itself, there is a nature, a lawfulness of its own, which will push us in the direction of integration, of connection, of the right kind of development towards a unified humanity.
let me understand this. People,
if we connect, for better or for worse, nevertheless, the good way or the bad way, the connection between us will bring us to the right kind of connection. And we might undergo blows on the way if we're egoists and we don't understand how to develop, or in a good way. But nonetheless, the power that works inside the network is a unique force. It's truly a power from a degree higher than ours. It's the collective ego that connects us, that pushes us to be together, that arranges that network, that arranges us, that governs us as if a negative force, but inside it is a positive force that pulls and pulls and pulls us to be as one. And I'm sure that we will discover this very soon, according to the pace of advancement and development.
Just let me understand if I understand this correctly. So you're saying, as soon as people connect, it doesn't matter how they connect, for what interest, there is...
It's a natural phenomenon.
A quality of nature.
The moment they connect, amongst them there is an additional force that comes as a result of that connection. Because that's how it's rooted in nature, that if you're connected, it could be the seed of the scornful, it could be people that are horrible people, but nonetheless their connection gives a powerful result. Not a good result, but a powerful one. It's because the connection itself comes against the spiritual force, because spirituality is connection. So in the meantime, it's possible that our connection is working for the worse and not for the better, but eventually it advances us.
I want to ask you just a question that came to my mind now. Mark Zuckerberg, he's Facebook's CEO and founder. He's a young guy, a 26-year-old. He invented the whole thing in a dorm room when he was studying in Harvard. He came up with the idea, and then very quickly, just maybe in 5 years, 500 million people. It's like there was a Hollywood movie about it just recently. If you had a talk with him now, do you think there would be a way to insert like new criterions to that Facebook system, or new ways of having people connect with each other, to already connect in a way that is correct, that is more in line with nature's plan?
No. Of course not. People have to connect and have to follow their nature. And only the recognition of evil in a natural way, without any pressure, that each acknowledges the extent to which his own nature, man's nature, is evil from the start, how destructive his nature is. To that extent, each one will correct himself freely without any coercion. And thus what I'd add, and what we're trying to add to all these networks, the virtual networks, is an understanding, a recognition, an explanation, or where are we headed, how do we develop, why did these networks develop at all, what do we have to do, where is humanity headed? Because all in all, these networks, they're a projection, they represent man's nature, and when we'll understand where we're headed as a new humanity, then maybe as a result of that, they will use Facebook or the different other kinds of connection in the right way, but still only through explanation, through education. And education is to educate a kid, a child, according to his ways, and not through pressure and limitations and restrictions, not coercively.
So only spreading,
meaning the wisdom of Kabbalah, specifically here, comes in so freely.
Kind of integrates.
Yes, because it works according to those laws. It relates to a person the way he is. It only says, explain to him, this is the law of creation, this is how it works in nature, and this is how it works in human society, and this is how it works in the social network. Let's see what can eventually be for our own benefit. And whatever result you reach, regardless. In the right direction, the wrong direction, go with it. Meaning it doesn't dictate the result either, how you're supposed to be. Nothing. Really, as free as the internet.
Okay, we have a few minutes left. You mentioned the topic of education, which is a big topic, but still we have a question, a video question from San Francisco that is about the topic. Let's play it and see if we can answer at least some of it.
My name is Marina. I'm from San Francisco. My question is, when children are born, they are very innocent, sensitive, aware, and full of pure love. How do we as parents protect them from the world and keep their innocence?
We can't protect our children from the world. They live in the world. Very quickly they come out into the social networks we talked about a lot. They come into human society, that they really absorb things through the air. They absorb everything that's going on in the world. On the contrary, maybe we're corrupting them by telling them different fairy tales, which is a lie and doesn't really happen in life. Let's quickly tell them what's going on in the world. And this way, we'll adapt them to the world they're supposed to live in. And we won't tell them about the wolf and the sheep living in the forest. Let's tell them about our jungle. And then they'll be more ready for our life. I think that the right kind of education should be by us introducing the world to the young child as broadly as possible, as big as possible, as clearly as possible, and bring it to discussion, to scrutinization. What is the world? How is he supposed to be with respect to the world? How should he advance? In our educational system, we're developing the new education for children, and we already see, after several years of experience, that we're reaching really amazing results, where kids, they're extremely developed. These are kids that don't get into trouble. They don't connect to evil. These are kids that are strong, that understand the world, that can cope with all that the world has to offer them and to scrutinize what is truly in their favor. And we provide them a wise shield against all the bad things, and specifically the right kind of scrutinization to sort and to bring closer any good thing and to reject any bad thing, any harmful thing. I don't think that isolating a child from the world goes in sync with the right direction of our development. It can only harm him.
You know that there's today it's parents are in a real predicament. There's a crisis going on in education, especially in the United States. There's I read some really things that are hard to read, like there's a thing called a school police. For instance, in Texas, you actually have cops at school. There was an article about a 12-year-old girl that was handcuffed for doodling on a desk. For instance, things like this happen. So, what can parents do in the current system?
Look, if a sweet young girl at the age of 6 or 7 was brought to school, and at the age of 12 you have to handcuff her, then it's the problem of the school, the problem of our society, the problem of the family. It's the problem of the whole environment. It's us, the grown-ups, and it's regardless who's to blame for here, the family or the school or who's in between. But we're the grown-ups that couldn't create a system that would turn that pretty sweet girl into a young lady, and then a woman, a good woman, corrected woman that's healthy in mind and soul, in body and soul. And that's our problem. Why do we actually have to handcuff her? I think that we have to handcuff her teachers, the educators that created such an environment for, not only in school, in general, such an environment that brought her to this trouble. She In character, she was merely a small girl, a small animal. We set all the different conditions for her, and that's how she grew. What are we blaming her now? She is a direct result of her upbringing.
Okay, so if I would summarize, there are two things that need to happen with education. One is to realize that the whole system needs to change. And this is something parents should realize. And the other is not to tell kids stories that are unrealistic, but to really teach them about the world and explain to them how reality really works.
Let's hope that we'll succeed.
Okay, there's a lot more to discuss here, a lot more to talk about, and we'll continue in further shows. Our time is up for this one. Thank you very much, Dr. Leitman.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for sending all your questions. Keep sending them to tv.kabbalah.info, video, audio, and text questions. And with this, we can continue this discussion all the time. Until the next show, all the best.